Good morning and welcome to this week's IGTV. Today I'm talking about what do you do when your teenager refuses your help? I don't need your help, yet they know they need help. You know they need help, but they will not accept your help. Whether it is support at school, whether it's support from you, support from a medical professional like a therapist or counselor, maybe they need medication or supplements. They are literally having nothing to do with this. Nothing. And you're watching your teen perhaps just struggle. Maybe they're spiraling. Maybe they're taking on some really questionable and maybe scary behaviors, or starting to fail out of school because they will not accept help that you know and maybe even they know that they need. All right, so I'm going to dig into this today, and I'm going to cover 3 specific points, as well as some answers for you to, if this is you, to begin to turn this around. My name is Allie Payne. I am a certified life coach and a certified relationship systems coach. I'm one of 70 people in Canada that holds both of those designations. I have worked with parents of teens to help them end the emotional blow-ups, the painful disconnection, the stressful silences, to create relationships, healthy and lasting relationships based on trust and respect. And I've been doing this for 16 years. I've helped thousands of parents. I just got the most amazing message yesterday from one of the alums from one of my programs saying that she just literally cannot believe the relationship that she has with her son. She did not think she would survive the teen years, and she worked with me when her son was 14 going on 15, and it was really a struggle. They had a lot going on in their family, and he's turned 16 yesterday, and she sent me a message saying, "It's like magic. I cannot believe the sweet spot that we are in now. I applied all of your videos and all of your program materials to the relationship, and it's like magic. Thank you." And it was so heartwarming to get that from her. You're one of those parents. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Well, I love doing this work, and I will do this until my last breath. So, okay, so here's the thing. If your teenager will not accept your help, let's talk about this, okay? So the first thing I wanted to bring up is, our teens are always modeling us in some way. And basically, that sucks. It really does suck. And it's like a hard pill to swallow, because you're probably right now being like, oh, I don't do that. I do not do that. No, you might not do the same behaviors that they do, but they model the thinking you have. Is that making sense? They model the thinking that you have, even if you've never made it overt, okay? So here's an example for you. This happened to me twice in the last 2 weeks. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna talk about this. I was working with a mom, a gorgeous, caring mom in my 5-day challenge group. And she was in this situation where her daughter literally was refusing help. In fact, her daughter got so defensive when she tried talking about getting help. She literally went off like a complete emotional blow up, super defensive, and wouldn't even let her mom finish a sentence. So we talked it through in the program a little bit. And what came out was, I said, normalizing accepting help is a really big deal, because research shows that accepting help is very vulnerable. Accepting help is a very vulnerable act of being whole. And it is so much easier for us to offer help or just be alone, like, I got this. I am a warrior of one, and even though, because our culture glorifies that we are alone in the journey and we've got this and we don't need anybody, and maybe you don't have someone near you to help or whatever reason, research shows that the more that's unconsciously modeled, that it's not okay to accept help or you don't accept help, that your children will deem accepting help to be very dangerous. Very dangerous. Because it is a level of vulnerability that has been modeled as completely unacceptable. So this gorgeous mom in this course, her 13-year-old was going through this, and I had this little conversation with her, online. And she was like, what? I said, what do you mean? And she said, I divorced from their dad when they were very young. I live in an area where I don't have a lot of family. And so I learned to buck up and be strong and do this myself. And I watched my mom, although my parents were together, my dad worked a lot, which was very much, parenting of the age. And so my mom did everything for us, and she did it all alone. And I was like, sounds like that's a pretty ingrained thought. And she was like, I can't even. She's like, I think I've even said things to my kids about how, nobody's coming to help you. Like nobody, yes, exactly. So we unpacked this a little bit, and this amazing mom realized what totally zero judgment, blame, condemnation. We're not doing that game. Okay. Zero. That this incredible mom doing the very best that she could. And in many cases, what was necessary was had already with her mom set her up a story for her that she needed to fiercely go it alone and be independent. And again, like how amazing is that? And also how lonely is that? Because she had never modeled accepting help, which is very vulnerable. And she realized that she'd modeled this with her daughter and even made comments about it for so long that it was no wonder that her daughter was literally terrified to even discuss the option. Because, as you said, that it's all about our society deems accepting help as being weak. Our society deems asking for help as absurdly, outlandishly selfish. You must be so selfish that you are asking for help. Like, who do you think you are? Okay, so that's all a load of crap. It's all a load of crap. And again, the relationship research shows that people who are more willing to ask for help and accept help, get this, wait for it, are people who have the healthiest relationships, are people who have the deepest sense of self-love, so they have more love to give. Yes, that asking for help is not a weakness. It is a superpower. Absolutely bang on. It is a superpower. Yes, and asking for help is definitely a huge, huge cultural trigger for parents and teens, especially in the pandemic, because in many states in the United States during the pandemic, or near kind of like not in the thick of it, but there were kids that were allowed to go back in person, but they were only the kids who needed extra help. Like, could we label and shame kids anymore? Right? So we haven't normalized the richness of accepting and allowing help. Now, let me take this another step further. So, in my Empowered Parent Mastermind program, okay, whether it's the live version or the self-paced version, the first module is identifying parenting and generational messages from a lens of compassion and curiosity, zero judgment and shamey, because I don't play that game, not interested, sign me out, where you get to, I've developed through a video and a whole questionnaire where you get to really unpack and unfold what are some of the things that you were raised under that are unconsciously repeating? Because, by the way, this is not about intelligence, so can we not go there either? Your brain is wired, like hardwired, it is wired to repeat what you know unconsciously, even if you said you would never do it. How many of us have done that? Even if you said you would never do it and it's not working for you. Our brains are wired for habitual action, and they take all of the programming that you got when you were young and they just hit play. And you're like, no, I said I would never do that. No, I'm not going to do that. Oh, I'm not. And yet, look at what happens. Without the awareness, we repeat. And again, this is zero judgment, okay? Zero judgment. So I have a fair share of my own, trust me. So in this module, the module 1 of getting to unpack parenting and generational beliefs, you get to have a really good, a curious and compassionate look at what is showing up for you and how is it repeating? What do you notice from your childhood that might be showing up now? And then how is it showing up in your parenting? How might that be impacting your parenting? So that's module 1, because if we don't build that awareness, kind of like wipe off the lens a little bit, look at the lens and be like, oh yeah, no, that's. And this is for you to decide, not for me to decide. This is for you to decide so that I can support you in the changes that you feel are goals for you. This is not for me to then judge your homework and be like, well, you failed this part. No, I don't do that either. Okay, so you have someone, follow with me, okay? So you have, if you were raised fierce independence, totally me. Fierce independence, it was made very clear in my house that accepting help was weak. People who asked for help or needed help, they were just less than. Like, that was overtly said. Did you think I was going to ask for help? And did you think I was going to? So here I am going from an A student to F's and failing out. And I'm getting yelled at because I'm not seeking help and I'm not allowing help. There was no way in this God's green earth that I was going to accept help because it was shameful. That was the belief I was raised under, was that it was shameful. It did, in fact, not only deem you as weak, but asking for help at school, well, that definitely deemed you as stupid. Well, with those labels on it, it's like a big green gooey ball. I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to run the other direction. So I didn't ask for help. I didn't ask for help. The teachers were right there. Yep. I was a good student. Otherwise, they would have helped me. I didn't ask for help. And I certainly didn't ask my parents for help because I didn't feel safe. It was very frightening. So let's take that one step further. So module 2 of the Empowered Parent Mastermind program is love languages and personality styles. Yeah, love languages and personality styles. So let's take this gorgeous mama. By the way, I had this happen in a TikTok live yesterday as well, where I was talking to this mom about her teenager wouldn't accept help. And I said the same story. I'm like, well, do you model accepting help? And is it safe? And is it like a courageous, like superpower for you to ask for help? Because if you don't, your teen won't. And she was like, oh my gosh. Same thing. This is very common. This is like a cultural message that somehow we're like heroic if we don't ask for help. Whatever. Okay. It's leading to a whole lot of disconnection in our relationships, mental health issues, unnecessary risk, unnecessary pain points if we would just ask for help. Okay. So module 2 is love languages and personality styles. So you take a mom or a parent who was raised in an environment where they could never ask for help, and maybe there just wasn't somebody around to ask for help, and their kids are seeing this. Now, if you're familiar with the 5 love languages, really quickly, I go over this in detail in module 2 of the Empowered Parent Mastermind, but they are words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, gifts, and acts of service. That little pinky one, acts of service. Follow me here. if I grew up in an environment where I was never allowed to or taught to accept help, I may believe, it may also be true, I may believe I have a love language of acts of service. See where I'm going with that? So acts of service is that I love helping people. I just love helping people. Like, it's how I show and express love. Now, that does not mean that every parent has a love language of acts of service, okay? Acts of service is that I literally don't feel resentful and truly love helping my kids, doing little things for my kids. The question and the reason I cover parenting messages and generational beliefs first is because we often believe our love language is our love language when really it's more like it's a generational belief that we were ingrained as normal. And so if you have acts of service as a love language, and in module 2, I go over what it's a free quiz. So you determine what yours is, plus then determine what your teenager's is to help you connect more. So the love you're giving is the love they're receiving. But if you're giving acts of service, now again, you are showing your teen that you need to be the giver. You're not okay to be the receiver. You need to be the giver. So is that a parenting or generational belief, or is it actually your love language? I don't know. That's for you to decide. I help you work through that, but that's for you to decide. Okay? So now you're out there giving because it's your acts of service, but you're never receiving. So your kids are never watching you receive, and they're watching you give. Okay? Which, by the way, sets up your same-sex child, your daughter or your son, depending who's watching this, to do the same thing. We generally model our same-sex parent, like up to 98% is, I think Dr. Phil said that. So then here's where it goes now to number 3. Module 3 of the Empowered Parent Mastermind, boundaries and consequences, is that if you don't have an effective boundary, so if you were taught you needed to be like a solo warrior, I got this, I don't need help, and then your love language, which may or may not be acts of service, so you continue to give, but your kids never see you on the receiving end, then we run into boundaries and consequences, and your kids don't understand boundaries around what is okay to not give, like when it's okay to draw a line, because they don't ever see you draw the line. They see you consistently actually abandon yourself for the sake of giving more or doing it all yourself, going independent, I got this, without boundaries around self-care and when it's okay to receive and who it's okay to receive from. And then I hear about teenagers who are in toxic relationships with people who just want more of your teenager, and your teenager doesn't ever know how to say no and feels they need to keep giving. Are you connecting the dots with me? This is where this stuff comes from. This is not about judgment or blame or anything. It's about where it comes from. And when you connect those dots, and then your teen isn't, number one, accepting help, okay? Because they've never seen you set boundaries around saying no. And by the way, research shows that the people who have the best clear boundaries are those who feel most comfortable to accept help. They are fine being vulnerable to accept help, and they have really clear boundaries about who they will receive from and what that looks like. So if you're modeling for your teen that you don't ever set boundaries and you don't receive, but you keep giving, and then your teen either keeps taking from you or will not receive the help that they truly need on whatever the level that is, whether it's from school or a medical professional or medication or etc. They won't accept your help, accept that kind of help, even if they know they need it. Seems crazy, I know. Or they're in a relationship where whoever they're in the relationship with, a friend, a romantic partner, whatever, is like just taking, and your teenager is literally like caught in this storm where they're giving, and they don't say no. They never say no. It's never, but for their partner or friend, it's never enough. But your teenager never says no. That is boundaries. And it all stems from what we're taught as normal, what we perceive as normal, how we then portray that in our own lives, because that's what our brains are wired to do. This is not about intelligence. And then how our teenagers perceive saying no to stop from overgiving, and how willing or vulnerable they are to accept help without believing that makes them broken, weak, stupid, a failure, and getting super defensive about the thought of even accepting help. Do you see how these all tie together? So the reason I'm sharing this with you today is because this has come up a lot recently. Like I said, in a program I just ran, it was on a TikTok live yesterday. It's kind of a lot of places. I get this comment where like my teen needs help and they even know they need help, but they won't accept help. Likely, these are the three things that are going on. And the reason I wanted to tell you this is because only for the next 6 days, I'm doing something I've never done before and I will probably never do again. I am hearing more and more from parents that they just want help, and in an increasingly very fast changing economy, budgets are really tight. And I get that. And I want to help. So I am offering the Empowered Parent Mastermind, the self-paced version, the powerful. It's got 8 online modules of literally everything that I wanted as a teen, that I learned in therapy, that I learned as a certified life coach, certified relationship systems coach, that I learned in raising 2 of my own children, one who has ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. I have ADHD, and then helping thousands of parents over the last 16 years. It's all in one, and I'm offering it from now until February 8th, $1. You can access it for the first 7 days, those first 3 modules I just talked about, for $1. And after that, you get access to the remaining 5 modules and access to my private parenting group where I go live 4 times. You'll be in there for 8 weeks, and I go live 4 times to answer more questions. I'm in the private Facebook community like daily. I have office hours from 11 till noon. I'm answering things daily. You get the lowest payment program that I've ever had, because this is really important to me, and I believe so much in you. I believe in the relationship that you want with your teen. I am on that team. I'm on team healthy relationship, and I know you can do it. So you can tap the link in my bio here on Instagram. If you tap on my name, there's a link in my profile. Or you can go to my website, alipayne.com. There's a big pink banner right across the top. Just tap the pink banner and that will get you started and show you everything that you get, and how to access this proven, powerful program for $1 for the first 7 days, and access those 3 modules I just talked about: parenting and generational beliefs, love languages and personality styles, boundaries and consequences. And after that, get the lowest payment plan I've ever had. And this isn't going to happen again. So if you have troubles finding that, just comment below, just say help or something below, and I'll happily send you the link in order to get started. I want to thank you so much for joining me. It's okay to accept help. It's not only okay, but it's a superpower. It takes great courage and vulnerability, and you are worth it. You have always been worth accepting love and kindness and support from others, and your teenager's worth it too. They just need you to model it and normalize it so they also feel safe doing it. Thanks, everybody. I will see you next Thursday here at 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you're on Instagram, I'd love a follow, and if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Bye.